Hey guys, it's Danny, and today I have teamed up with No Yolks to bring you 3 easy, healthy, family-friendly noodle recipes. Now I'm going to show you how to make my lentil, kale, and Parmesan noodles, my shortcut chicken noodle soup, and then a veggie-packed noodle salad that is perfect for lunch boxes or as a very simple, kid-friendly dinner.
Oh my gosh.
Now, personally, I grew up eating the No Yolks noodles. My mom made them all the time. And I remember that what I loved about them so much was that once they were cooked up, they held up really well, like better than other noodles. And my mom, of course, used them in all the classics. She would use them in a stroganoff or in a casserole, but I promise you they are so much more versatile than that. You can use them in soups, you can use them in salads, and really any dish that you would want to use a noodle. Now, I'm using the whole grain noodles today, which have 8 grams of protein and 4 grams of fiber per serving, but they also have broad noodles, extra broad, fine, klusky, dumplings, and then new this year, stir-fried noodles. So there is a huge variety. So let's get started with my lentil, kale, Parmesan noodles. Now, this is a recipe that I came up with when both of my kids were still very little, because I was always trying to find a way to get more protein and veggies into their diet. And since they both loved noodles so much, this was a very easy way to get the job done. So I'm gonna start by heating 1 tablespoon of olive oil in a nice big saute pan. And then once that oil has heated through, I'm gonna toss in some chopped onion along with a pinch of salt. And then I'll just let that go for a couple of minutes. The onion will begin to look translucent, and then we're ready to toss in our garlic along with a little more salt, some black pepper, and some ground cumin, which has a nice smoky smell, and it brings a little bit of warmth to the dish without adding any spice. I'm just gonna stir that together, and we'll let that go for about 5 minutes or so until everything has come together and it's nice and fragrant. Then I'm ready to add in my lentils. Now I am using pre-cooked lentils that I get in the refrigerator section at the grocery store, and most grocery stores have them these days, and I love them because they're a huge time saver, but you could certainly make them from scratch, or if you were really in a pinch, canned lentils could work as well. So get them in there, give them a good stir. And then lastly, I'm just gonna get a little bit of low sodium veggie broth into the pan just to add some liquid. And I'll let all of this simmer over a low heat and let all those flavors come together. And while all that is taking place, I'm gonna make my noodles. Now, the No Yolks noodles are a great alternative to egg noodles because they're made from egg whites. So they have no cholesterol and they're low in fat and sodium. So I have a nice big pot of boiling water on the stove, and I find the fastest way to get that boil is to keep your lid on. And then once you've got a nice strong boil, you're just gonna get the noodles into the pot and let them cook anywhere between 10 and 12 minutes or until they are tender and fluffy. Then what I do is I drain them out and I put some very thinly sliced kale on the bottom of the pot before I add the noodles back in. And then as you add the noodles back in, the heat and the steam from the noodles help to wilt down the kale. Then I pour the lentil and veggie mixture over the top along with the Parmesan cheese, and then you just stir that all together and it's ready to go. Packed with protein, veggies, and whole grains. This, my friends, is comfort food at its best.
Delicious. Delicious. I really do like it. Okay.
Okay, so on to our second No Yolks noodle recipe. I am making my shortcut chicken noodle soup. Now, as you guys know, I am a big believer in the power of food. So the minute anybody in my house is not feeling well, the first thing I want to do is get in the kitchen and make some homemade chicken noodle soup. But sometimes I don't have the time to make it from scratch, which is why I love this recipe so much, because it's still homemade. We're just using a little extra help from the grocery store by using a pre-cooked rotisserie chicken. So I start by heating a little bit of olive oil in my pot, and then once it's heated through, I'll add in some chopped up onions, carrots, and celery, along with just a little bit of garlic. This, my friends, is the magical base of chicken soup. I'll give that a little bit of salt and a little bit of pepper, along with a teaspoon of ground thyme. toss it all together, and then we'll just let this go for about 8 to 10 minutes or until it's fragrant and you can see that the veggies are beginning to soften up a bit. Then we're ready for our chicken. Now, the best way to get the chicken off of the bones is to shred it up while it's still hot. So as soon as you get your chicken home from the grocery store, whether you plan on using it that day or another day, go ahead and prep it. Then you can store it in an airtight container in your fridge and it will be ready to go when you are. So I'm gonna get my chicken into the pot along with 4 cups of low sodium chicken broth. Now, of course, if you had a homemade broth, that would be amazing, but don't worry if you don't, the store-bought will work just fine. Then I'm gonna turn up my heat, let everything come up to a boil, then reduce it back down so it can simmer and all of those flavors will come together. And while all of that is happening, I have also made my noodles. Now, if you've never tried the No Yolks noodles in your chicken noodle soup before, you are in for a treat because they have the perfect balance of fluffy and al dente. And I have found that the best way to make chicken noodle soup is to make the soup and then to make the noodles. And when you're ready to serve, you place the noodles on the bottom of your bowl and then top it with the soup. So good. And then personally, I like to top mine with a little bit of fresh parsley and some Parmesan cheese, but of course, the topping options are up to you.
Yummy, yummy in my tummy.
And the third and final recipe that I'm going to be sharing today is my veggie packed noodle salad. And honestly, guys, I came up with this one when I was in need of a very easy lunchbox recipe that I could make ahead of time. So for this one, I'm gonna start with my salad dressing. So I've got a nice spouted cup here, and into that, I'm adding a couple cloves of crushed garlic, along with equal parts extra virgin olive oil and red wine vinegar. I'll give that a little bit of Italian seasoning and some salt and pepper, and then I'll just whisk that until everything comes together. I'm gonna set that aside, and then into a nice big bowl, we're gonna combine all the veggies. So I've got some chopped up yellow bell pepper. I have some Kalamata olives that I've sliced in half. A few cups of steamed broccoli, and I find that steaming it makes it much more kid-friendly. And then finally, some garbanzo beans, AKA chickpeas that I've rinsed and drained. Then I'll add in 4 cups of cooked No Yolks whole grain noodles. And again, guys, I cooked this the same way as I did at the beginning of the video. And we'll drizzle our dressing right over the top. And then I'm just gonna gently mix this until everything is well combined and has a nice light coating of the dressing. And you're gonna see that you're gonna have the easiest, most delicious noodle salad. And I love how the combination of the beans and the noodles make this a very kid-friendly, plant-based meal that is also rich in protein.
Oh my god. I just found something I really love.
So now I want to hear from you. Which of these 3 clean and delicious noodle meals do you think you will try first? Come on down to the comments and let me know. And if you haven't already, please take a moment to subscribe, like, and share this video with anybody else you know who wants to make healthy eating easy. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Danny Spees, and I will see you back here next time with some more clean and deliciousness. Cheers!
I really love the noodles. But with that dressing, makes them very sweet and
they're speechless.
or tender.
Tender.
It's so good. You guys think I know what tender means?
He's right though, the noodles are tender.
Katie, how do you like it?
I love it.
You love it?